I'm going to presume that at this point in time, we've all heard about this Gucci, the company, fiasco, and this perceived act of racism by these people. First and foremost, what they did is perceivably bigoted. It's not racist. I'm getting sick and tired of people not understanding the difference between racism and bigotry. It could go a long way in cleaning up a lot of the confusion when it comes to social perceivably social acts of injustice and mistreatment. The two words are not the same, but that's another subject. The subject of this video is T.I., the rapper. I'm sure a lot of you, especially a certain demographic, have seen his video where he's taking on the role of the leader of this movement against Gucci, this boycott movement. I could go all day on this, but I'm not. I'll just say this. The man can't even be intellectually honest with you guys. He can't. The stuff he said in that video was absolutely ridiculous. But T.I. understands, as most liberals do, most wealthy liberals, those who create policy, those who create propaganda, and those who perpetuate it and promote it, i.e. T.I., they understand the malleable mind of the Negro and his unwillingness and inabilities, in a lot of cases, to properly deduce a situation. And he's so inundated with victimization that anything that makes him out to be a victim is a sort of consolation to him. So it's easy to manipulate the black masses. And I'm convinced that T.I. has been an assigned agent to do so, because he's been ever more vocal, and not vocal with a new movement, with a new philosophy, with a new agenda. He's just another mouthpiece regurgitating the talking points of the same liberalism that has enslaved your minds forever. He talked about the injustices of cops, and I've touched on this many times. We all know I'm the last person who will defend the tax slave plantation overseers, i.e. police officers. I'm the last person to defend them, but I'm fair and balanced. And I know how to be objective. Sure, cops hurt and kill unarmed black men. This perception about them being innocent, that's up for debate. But that's neither here nor there. What is of most concern to me, not just because the data supports it, but because it's logical from a fundamental standpoint, what's most concerning is, how can a people expect cops to treat them with respect when they don't treat one another with respect? We're very much creatures of habit, everyone. And what we see shapes our ideals and our actions and behaviors in most scenarios. Black people are constantly, 24/7, being observed by outsiders disrespecting, maiming, harming, and killing one another. We exude perpetual, gross disrespect for one another. So how in the hell can we expect anyone else to respect us? That premise, that foundation alone debunks any arguments about cops harming us, harming black people. That just shuts it all down. It doesn't justify them doing it, but I'm sick of rationalizing with intellectual dishonesty. I'm done with that. T.I. also, which this is the only point I gave him in the video. I mean, he made other common sense statements in the video that no one would argue. No side, anybody who was non-biased and had a modicum of common sense, they couldn't debunk it. But one of the points that he made that was of most importance is when he said that black people are the collective group that makes the least amount of money, but they spend the most amount of money. Let that sink in. Earns the least, spends the most. What he didn't say, what he should have, to really bang home the point, but he was never going to do that because I understand who he is and what he serves. He should have followed that up by saying, this debunks the notion that black people are poor. That's not that morally, intellectually, that point could be made. But economically, no, we're not poor. We're not poor. He should have made that point. But he also should have made the point that if he wants to bring up numbers and statistics, he needs to go all the way with it. Black women are these gross spenders. Black men are in there too, obviously, because they're a part of the collective group, males and females. But if he really wanted to break down numbers, and I hate when people toss stats out. If you want to toss them out, let's go all the way. Like if you want to talk about cops killing black people, let's talk about how that number pales in comparison to cops killing white people. Let's talk about how that number pales in comparison to black mothers killing their children. How that number pales in comparison to black people killing black people. If we're going to talk about numbers, let's go all the way. Don't play with it. But anyway, he didn't talk about that. But let me piggyback his point. It's true. It's true. But then Mr. T.I. turns around and says, instead of spending that money with Gucci, you know, spending above your means and living in perpetual poverty, let's not do that. Let's spend your money with black-owned luxury brands. These are his words. Black-owned luxury brands. So wait a minute. Oh, let's spend it with them because stop spending money where people don't care about you. Implicit within that statement is spend above your means with black people. And I'm all for establishing a black economy, but these people aren't within these black luxury brands. These people aren't in the black community. They're on a different social tier. You're not spending money. You're not propping up black community infrastructure when you're spending money on these black luxury brands. Let's just get that clear. But he said, implicit in what he said is to spend money with these black luxury brands, you're automatically spending above your means with people who care about you. What? How many of y'all agree that if you spend money with a black person, that automatically means that that person cares about you? That automatically just disqualifies commerce altogether. He's a businessman. He has a product. You're a consumer. You want to buy products, supply and demand. None of that matters. It's only just spend the money with them because they're black, and because they black, they care about you. And let's harken back to what I said earlier. Clearly, blacks have a gross disrespect for one another because that's played out every day. Not in your own just in your own personal lives, within your families, etc. But all over social media. Our disrespect for one another is pervasive. That's another thing he said that just didn't make any sense. At the end of the day, I'm telling you, I could go on and on. But the real point of this video is I really want people to take a look at who is it being put in place and who is it that have become these vocal, quote unquote, leaders. What are they really saying? Are you taking the time to deduce what they're saying? To look at it from a place of logic and reason versus a place of victimization. It makes no sense. And then he said in the video, let's boycott it, start with 3 months. Now, mind you, according to him, which I don't believe, but that's according to him, we'll stick with what he said. He spends approximately $1.5 million a year at Gucci. Gifts, personal items, etc. These are his words, not mine. He says he still owns Gucci. And when somebody brought it up in his comment section saying, well, hey, you know, let's burn this shit. He was like, no. Man, no. Let's not burn it. We're just not going to wear it. He even went so far as to say, if a DJ is at a party and he sees somebody with Gucci on, he needs to call them out. Bro, the monolithic thought of the Negro is mind-blowing. Black people honestly believe that if you're black, you need to think a certain way. You need to have a certain philosophy. You need to act a certain way. You need to talk a certain way. You need to think a certain way. You need to vote a certain way. You need to buy a certain way. The monolithic thought of the Negro it had to have started, I would venture to say, late 19th century, but most definitely mid 20th century. Somewhere somebody died and told somebody that they're in charge of what it means to be black. And if you're not that way, if you're not a part of the monolith, then you're not black, you're a coon, you're Uncle Tom, you're a sellout. This is another dynamic of the black illness, the psychological illness that keeps our progression stagnant, or one could argue is responsible for the regression of the Negro in this country. Call them out if they still wearing Gucci. Never mind, I spent my fucking money on this. I don't own Gucci. I'm just speaking generally. Just because a person is black, he don't have to jump on your dumbass, meaningless cause. And this Negro even had the nerve to say, this is the problem with the black community. What? Because they buy? Black people don't own shit. Everything they wear is somehow connected to somebody white or Jewish or Asian or whatever the fuck. So you're being intellectually dishonest. You're riding around in a Lamborghini talking about white supremacy. You're on a cell phone talking about white supremacy. You bank at banks talking about white supremacy. You rent or bought your home from white supremacy. It makes no sense. That's what I'm saying. This whole position is fruitless and futile. The energy spent on this foolishness is a waste of time. If you want to fix the black community, fix the family. If you want to fix the black community, we have to fix the intellectual laziness within that community. If you want to fix the black community, you have to teach them American infrastructure. If you want to fix the black community, you have to start to shame. There's to be we got to get back to having self-respect and having shame and not taking pleasure in dysfunction and debauchery. You're not going to fix the black community by boycotting $1 billion enterprise, you stupid son of a bitch. And I'm angered by it. I'm not angered by Gucci developing a product that could be perceived as bigoted. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Because that has no bearing on my position in society. What does have bearing on my position in society is people like T.I. furthering the social engineering machine's efforts to continue to not only dumb down the black community, but to propagate a perpetual wheel, WHEEL, of ignorance. And at this point, it is so easy to do it. Sometimes I wonder if it's the system's magnificence and strategic savvy that keeps the black community stagnant or in a state of regression, or is it willful ignorance at this point? I think the point could be made that it's a combination of both. But we got to stop this. We got to stop listening to people like T.I. He serves the very system that he proclaims to war against. You need to do your own investigation. Here in Black History Month, which is another video I wanted to make. I wanted to make a video on how nobody posts pictures and posts literature on these great the great line of ancestry that we have as it relates to civil rights or innovations by American blacks or blacks across this world that have done something for the cause. Y'all wait till Black History Month to do that shit. Do you understand how foolish it looks? How disingenuous it looks? How mechanical it looks? But that's another video. My point was, if we're gonna hail or place a leader in a position, it needs to be a leader that commands and demands accountability from us. Without accountability, the black race is going nowhere. This victimization narrative is gonna lead us right into fucking extinction. I'm telling you that. Somebody has to tell you that. T.I. said he over there running hot. He's mad. He's this upset. You're that upset about $1 billion corporation putting out a product line that's going to inevitably sell. You have no power, not because you don't have the black community doesn't have power because we don't have an economic base. We don't have power because no one takes us seriously. Because we embrace and get behind idiots like T.I. No one will take us serious. No one would take us serious. Anyway, I could go on and on. I could literally pick every position he made apart without exercising a fraction of my intellect. That's just how easy everything he said could be dismantled. Everything he said could be easily dismantled with logic, reasoning, and common sense, and basic stats and data. But this Negro was up there talking like he was a revolutionary. People on his chat room, oh man, you say it, T.I. Like this Negro was the next Booker T. I mean, come on, man. This stuff bothers me. See, y'all fake outrage. I'm real outrage. Y'all don't really care about this. Y'all just are addicted to the venom that is victimization. But I'm gonna stop. Hashtag TruckUTV. I'm out.